the coolest thing about our logo is that it's grounded in our North Star. And as part of this process, we developed the Newfangled North Star, and it takes all the stuff that was on that list and it distills it down to what's actually important to us. So this is it here. And I'm going to go into each one of these points and talk to you about what it means. But first I want to mention that it's actually a really incredible tool to have a North Star for yourself. Because North Stars are not, they're not sort of one-sided. There's a lot of depth to them. And there's a bit of a stretch to them so that you can set at different times in your life or at different points in a project, different amounts of weight to different things that are important to you. So the Newfangled North Star has been an incredible tool to help us decide what projects to take, which clients to chase, when to donate our time and resources for a good cause, when to hire, fire, and it has happened, God forbid, lay off. Mostly when to speak up, like when to say something and not, just take it. And it's helped us to guide a lot of conversations with each other, with our clients, and even like the one that we're having today. In fact, we created a North Star team at Newfangled, and it's the department heads of all the different departments, and we meet and we sort of analyze things sometimes. And we'll say like, hey, we have a North Star issue if we feel like something's going on that doesn't sort of meet our guiding light. So it's been a big part of our company culture. Going into like the points of the star, business results needs to be at the foundation of everything that we do, because that's why people hire us. And so, like I said, when I started, it was really about business results for us. It was about like making money. But business results, as I've learned and as we've matured as a studio, is really about the results for the clients, and that creative effectiveness piece of it, making sure that the work works. And then the top of the star is creativity and innovation. And the placement of those 2 points of the star is actually really intentional. The bottom being business results, that's foundational, right? But then the top is creativity and innovation. You're gonna find there's a push-pull between those two things. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but there's gonna be a push-pull between creativity and business results. You don't wanna make stuff that looks cool for the sake of it looking cool, unless it's a personal project. And you don't only wanna be worried about the business results. You have to make sure that you're paying attention to your craft and respecting your craft in that way. So, when we think about creativity and innovation for our clients, that's pushing the work forward, but we want to push ourselves forward as well. An example of this push-pull is recently we had an opportunity to develop an AR filter for Google. They hadn't done an AR filter before, and so they decided the best thing to do was to hire a studio who also hadn't done an AR filter before to release their first one. And so I'm really good at saying yes. And we analyzed that push-pull of creativity and innovation, like let's figure out how to do an AR filter, and business results, which was we would probably lose money on it. And we did it, and it was really cool, and it felt like a moment where we were really utilizing our North Star. The left and the right of the North Star are the anchors. These are your non-negotiables. This is the stuff that there's a push-pull between the top and the bottom, but the left and the right, if it doesn't hit these things, we're not taking the job. Or if it doesn't hit these things, there needs to be a conversation. We have to speak up. The left side is about respect and inclusion. Now that goes for how we treat each other too. Like being respectful toward one another, an artist in the way that they talk to a producer, not to assume that the producer doesn't know something, or the producer, recognizing the time and effort that it takes to make a change. Like this is about respect, no matter what role you have in the studio. And then inclusion is, it's one of our tenets of our company culture, of how can we make sure that we're being inclusive on everything that we do. But it's also about representation on screen and off. So who we work with, but who we put on the screen is so important to us. And I think that if you look at our work, we're really proud of how overall inclusive it is. I think, thank you. It's the type of things that, clients may ask for it, but if they don't, you want to make sure you're delivering on that anyway, because we have so much power as people in the advertising industry to put people on screen who may not otherwise be. And if you think about a little kid out there, maybe who is hard of hearing, and they never see anybody on TV who's hard of hearing being successful, subtly they may think, well, I can't be successful either. But it's so impactful and so important that when you take people of different ability levels, different races, ethnicity, the whole pendulum of neurodiversity, gender, sexual orientation, and make sure that you are using your power as artists to be inclusive. So if you're an illustrator, don't feel powerless, like, well, I don't have that decision, right? Recently, we put a Dexcom on someone's arm, which is an insulin pump if you have diabetes, right? Or putting a hearing aid, and it might be subtle things, like these can be almost invisible disabilities. But doing things like that, even when you're illustrating characters, like always having that in your head is really important to us, and I just want to throw that out there for something you guys could think about too. And then the last thing about respect and inclusion is, like, going back to what I said, like, it's about how our clients treat us. You need to work with people who respect you, or it's never gonna feel good. And I'm happy to report now, I don't work with any of those scumbags that I did earlier. Our clients are really awesome and really supportive of us in every way, so it's great. And then on the right-hand side of the star, the other sort of anchor is forward progress. And I mean that in every sense of the word. If taking a job is gonna give us access to, a cell scene, and there's some people on staff who really wanna be doing more cell, like, let's take the job, Let's let them have access to that type of work that they wanna do. It could be someone who's like at the associate producer level, and it's taking a job that, maybe isn't the most complex job, but let's just take it because maybe this is the first job they can manage on their own. So thinking about it in terms of progress of the individual careers of the people at Newfangled, but also for our clients and for society. Again, making sure that we're being representative. And we have this whole initiative called, if you guys can check it out, it's called Nothing About Us Without Us, which is a phrase that was started by the disability community, but really applies to any sort of community that is underrepresented. So making forward progress in that way means that when you represent someone, you also have to include that person. So if we're gonna tell the story of an Inuit from Northern Canada, then we need to have an Inuit from Northern Canada consulting on the vibe. And that's all about that forward progress. So yeah, here's a really artful illustration of the North Star.